Hey everyone, welcome to A-Tech Reviews. In today's video, I think we found a new discovery here today. I will review the Tanchjim for you. I will tell you what I like about them. They offer something new and they have become my favorite, and this video will explain why exactly. I'll spend less than 30 seconds. I'll show you what comes in the box and a few pictures, and then we will compare it to a few other IMs after I review the sound. We'll compare it to the Tanchjim Oxygen. It's not exactly a fair comparison, but I believe they both have a lot of similarities. Frequency response graph-wise and in the sound quality itself. We'll compare it to the Duno Titan S, another favorite of mine. We'll compare it to the Confine Delci, another highly recommended IM that I love, and it's a favorite of mine. EA500 LM, and then we'll compare it to the F-full MagicOne. We'll talk about the differences between all of these IMs. So let's begin. This is the IM itself, as you can see. It has like a polished metal on the side, and this part is shining and could get scratched. So you should take care of it if you use it. I think like other, if you have like other Tanchjim IMs, they come with the same material and the same quality. So that's really good. They come with this screwdriver that you find here, and you can use it to just put it and point and just change like so. You can change the direction of the dip switch, which way it points, and they give like 4 descriptions for it. I don't really find the descriptions really descriptive. Like one of them is like monitoring mode, one of that is like natural mode. I will tell you what I find in my differences. But before I talk about the switches, I just want to say there is the cable here. It's very, very light. It reminds me of the EA500 cable, but more thin. It's very light. It's very flexible. Really, really high flexibility cable. I really like it. It's non-microphonic. It's very comfortable with my listening. The ear hooks are very comfortable. Another thing is that the IMs themselves are extremely comfortable, and they come with 2 sets of ear tips, like narrow bore ear tips and wide bore ear tips. I love the narrow bore tips more, but the wide bore tips allow you to slightly perceive more detail and more treble, more air, so that will be preferred by a lot of people, I'm sure. It's very nice, but for my preferences, I like the narrow bore because of the way it presents the bass. So that is something I want to say. The cable only also comes in 3.5, but you can cable swap and do whatever you like. About the noise isolation, very, very high. If you see here, I'm using the Divinus Velvet ear tips because my ear holes are kind of large, and the Divinus Velvet like fills up my ear and enhances my perception of the bass. And this IM has a lot of quality bass that we'll talk about. Let's talk about the graph, and let's talk about the 4 modes first. I will not spend a lot of time talking about, if we look at the graph, you find the 4 modes here, and I will talk about something quickly before I talk about my favorite mode. My favorite mode out of these 4 is the atmosphere mode. I think it is the most balanced, it is the most fun and enjoyable. It has a very good bass and sub bass. But I see someone using the pop, and I even used it, and I tried every single one of them. The differences for me are the other modes bring out more the mid-range. They don't change the mid-range itself, as you can see, but they put the focus more on the mid-range. So things sound like more... The mid-range specifically sounds more highlighted, if you will. Like there's a lot of instrument clarity and a lot of vocal clarity, and if you remove... It's natural, you can do that with any IM, in my opinion. You just lower the bass, and you immediately start to perceive more vocals, right? More instruments. I think this is exactly what's happening here. But I have to say, the monitoring mode is not my favorite, although even though it looks on the graph like there's a lot of like sub-bass roll-off and stuff like that, actually, it still has some bass, very low, but still has some. And I can see someone monitoring vocals using that. Although, like, honestly, it's a bit low, but I see someone doing that. And after this mode, when we compare the 3 other modes, you'll find most of the differences, the true differences, are below 80. 80 hertz. And this is the area where, like if you notice, the big chunk of the change is usually under 60 hertz. This is the area where the sub bass is dominant here. So the differences are not as you think they will be. Like, they affect the bass, of course, but honestly, even the natural mode still has some bass, and it's nice, but there's a lot of sub bass roll off and maybe lower mid bass roll off. So again, these are my differences. I wish Tanchjim added a mode that will add a lot of bass, maybe for some bass heads who like to have more enjoyment with like some EDM tracks or something. But the pop mode and the atmosphere mode, I think both of them are sufficient for most people. I use the atmosphere mode, and for this review, unless I'm talking about other modes, I will be talking about the atmosphere mode. Now, what is the sound of the Tanchjim for you using the atmosphere mode? The sound signature actually is a bit neutral, a bit more, like you could describe it as balanced, but it is very detail oriented. IM, like it is highly resolving, and that is the standout feature of this IM. This is what makes it different to me compared to other IMs. I find it is very, very detailed in everything, actually. Let's break it down. Let's talk about the sub bass. The sub bass is another standout feature of this IM. These two things stand out for me a lot. The sub bass using the atmosphere mode is top notch. It's truly, truly excellent. And it has a lot of rumble. And I know I didn't expect that at all, but it jumped at me, the level of quality, the level of detail. And you can hear even bass guitars, and it has that sound that is really satisfying and gives a lot of foundation to your music. So I don't know, I noticed that, and I compared it. Specifically, this became apparent when I compared it to other IMs like the Kafai and Delci and so on. The sub bass of the Tanchjim for you is really highlighted, really prominent, really strong on the atmosphere mode. And when I use soundtracks like Hans Zimmer and other songs that go down to 10 hertz even, it's a champ, it's holding its own, it's reproducing that content with great clarity and definition. And that's awesome. When we move on to the mid bass, actually it will surprise you when I say that. Like, I didn't expect it to be this strong, but it is strong, and it has a very, very powerful slam. Like the impact here, it's like boom, boom, boom. It's like boom, boom, crushing it with songs that have that bass, with like bass heavy tracks. On normal songs like hip hop and stuff like that, it is present. And it's punchy as well. Like, it's detailed yet punchy. The amount is more than sufficient, and it's in your face using the atmosphere mode. When we go to the pop mode, it becomes more natural, like you know, like you don't feel it's grabbing your attention. But on the atmosphere mode, man, it is really strong, really detailed, and in your face. If we move to the lower mid-range, the transition from the mid-bass to the lower mid-range, it has a slight bass bleed. Like, I have to say that usually IMs at this price point, they have a drawback. There is something that has to give, right? And here there is a small amount of bass bleed. I notice it on the atmosphere mode, but not in the pop mode. And natural, it's there, but of course the bass is already low, so you don't feel it's like bleeding into the mid-range. That said, most other IMs in this price range have that bass bleed, and I don't feel it's actually bad or anything like that, because first of all, it's a very small amount. Like, I have to nitpick actually to talk about it. And second of all, it adds a lot of body to the mid-range. It gives notes some weight, like piano music, for example. They have that enrichment. The vocals sound lush because of that, and they sound lovely. It's not a warm-tuned IM at all, so don't think that's what I mean. No, it's still very detailed mid-range. And speaking of the mid-range is very detailed. I would describe it as neutral. It's not highlighted in any way. It is a bit forward, so that's very good. Like, you perceive a lot of detail in the mid-range. A lot of the vocals, male and female, are at the forefront. Instruments as well, like guitars and acoustic guitars and so on, jazz trumpets, everything is forward and natural and very detailed. Never shouty, zero, never sibilant or anything like that. That's one of the things that puts this IM, ranks it very highly in my book. It's a very, very detailed IM that doesn't sound shouty, or shrill or sibilant at all. Instead, you get a natural tonality to the vocals. But again, the vocals don't feel like they're the focus of this IM. It depends on the mode used, as I said. If you go to the pop mode or the natural mode, you start to feel the mid-range is highlighted and it's the star of the show. But using the atmosphere mode, I feel the mid-range is forward but still balanced with the bass and the treble. When we move to the treble, again, there is a dip that you will find. I think it starts at 9K, 9-ish K to 12K, something like that. And this part, I wish that part was tuned differently because it could have more air. It's not a dark IM at all. There's a lot of sizzle up top and there is air. But if this part was like added more, it would add a lot more air, which I like. It adds the sense of space. But what is there, folks, is sufficient, and it's very nicely done. Adds a lot of clarity up top. There's a lot of sizzle, like you can see the 13K area and beyond. There's a lot of sizzle, but I have to say it puts more focus. It's never sharp, actually. It's never fatiguing, never sharp or sibilant or anything like that, and I tell you that 100%. But a lot of sounds that are usually in the background, like high frequency sounds and like drum splashes and cymbal strikes, hi-hats, these things in some songs, I know them, they sound in the background, but here on the Tanchjim For You, they sound a bit at the forefront. They sound closer to my ear than not. So that's what I want to say. Like other IMs put things maybe in the background because maybe they are recorded that way, but here I feel it's very close to my ear, never sharp, but very close to my ear, grabbing my attention. So that's it. Another thing I will talk about here, which this IM performs in an excellent way compared to all the other IMs on this desk, with the exception of the Oxygen, of course, is its imaging and soundstage capabilities. Mark my words, guys, when I say the width, not the depth. The width of the soundstage of this IM is very wide for an IM. Like, it's better than all of them with the exception of the Oxygen. It sounds very wide, and this is not something you usually find in IM. Most IMs, to me, with the exception of, like, honestly, of like 10, most of them sound the same. Like, some of them, yes, sound very intimate, but the others are very average. Tanchjim For You, mark my words, guys, if you listen to it, listen to songs that have good stereo imaging, and it sounds very wide, very clean, and things come at you from a distance. Now, this also aids in the perception of imaging, because in the imaging here, spatial and positional cues are exactly on point. It's surprising to say that, like, because some IMs I have reviewed that cost like $150 and even more don't have that precise imaging capability that we find here on the Tanchjim For You. So that makes me very happy. And this is an IM that, like, if you want even the imaging to be more on point, you can use the pop mode and the natural mode, I think it's called, and then they will be really sharp. You can pinpoint everything exactly. But even using atmosphere mode, it's very precise, and this is due also to the low distortion of the driver, and due to how resolving this IM is. I said this IM is very resolving, so you kind of expect soundstage to sound wonderful. It's a single dynamic driver. My experience is usually single dynamic drivers have excellent soundstage. There's a coherency aspect to it, a cohesiveness that's just hard to find anywhere. And we find the same experience here. Soundstage is awesome, detail retrieval is top notch, and imaging is exactly on point. So that's the description I have to say about this. And I have to say, I'm not a guy who likes to keep playing with the like dip switches and stuff like that, but I have to say I like to set it and forget it, you know. That's me. But I have to say I like the pop and atmosphere mode, and after like playing just for this review, I will be only using the atmosphere mode. I just love it. It's very enjoyable. Now let's start with the comparison segment. I've been ranting for some time now. Let's start with the comparison segment of this video, and I'll start with the comparison against the Tanchjim Oxygen. Now, the Tanchjim Oxygen is another favorite of mine, an excellent IM, but it got replaced with the Tanchjim Origin. And the Tanchjim Origin is much better, has a lot more detail. They even have the same technology, DMT, like dual magnetic driver technology, something like that, dual chamber, something like that. And they have the same technology, like this technology that Tanchjim achieved lately has been allowing it to achieve very low distortion rates on its drivers. You can see that. And in terms also, consequently, like you hear a lot of detail retrieval. This is something that I began to notice in Tanchjim IMs, the origin and the For You. So if you look at the graph, you will find the tonality is almost the same. The graph is almost the same, and that's why I wanted to do this comparison, even though there is a big gap in prices. But still, it's very, very close in tonality, if not the same. Like, if you love the Tanchjim Oxygen, you will listen to the For You and you'll be shocked. What are the differences? The differences are in the detail, but it's not as you think. Like, it's not a day and night. Maybe it was day and night a long time ago, but with the advancements in technology, the prices are dropping in the IM world, and we're getting much more value compared to before. That's my opinion. And yeah, still the Oxygen is a big jump. I will not lie. It's still a big jump in detail retrieval, in imaging, in soundstage, and in instrument separation and layering, right? There is still a big gap, but the gap is smaller than before. Like honestly, if I'm listening to Tanchjim For You and I have the Oxygen, I'm not mad. I'm not feeling that I'm missing a lot. The tuning is on point. Tonality is excellent. And when I just listen to the Oxygen after it, I feel, yeah, the Oxygen has more detail. Yeah, but not the level of the Origin where it is extremely detailed. Like, I can take the For You and be happy. So that's just my opinion. And it makes you kind of think, maybe I should sell the Oxygen and like get more IMs to review or something, because For You achieves a big amount, not all, like, but achieves a big amount. The difference is only in detail retrieval, and I have, you know, more resolving IMs like the Elysian Pilgrim. So I want you to understand what's going on here. Now, when we move on to the Dunu Titan S, a favorite of mine that I don't want to sell because it holds a lot of value for me. I love it. I love the quality of it. I love the sound. And I stopped using it for music and movies and stuff like that since I got the Kevine Delci, because the Kevine Delci adds the missing parts of the Dunu Titan S. It has more bass. It has more low end. It has more detail. So when I got that, I stopped using it for that. But I want to say the differences between the Dunu Titan S and the For You. The difference is in probably the mid-range. That's the majority of the differences are. Yes, there is a difference in the bass of the Dunu Titan S. The Dunu Titan S has lower bass and again has lower treble, which, you know, naturally, logically highlights the mid-range. It also has a bit more mid-range if you look at the graph. But what this does is it allows you to perceive the mid-range with more focus, with more clarity. Like, nothing is overshadowing it, but nothing is even grabbing your attention. Like, you listen, you hear vocals and instruments, and everything else is just a small addition. The treble adds to the clarity, and the bass, yeah, is there so that you can hear if there's any low end in the music or vocals. And this makes it a very, very, very good IM for vocals and for instruments. And I used to use it a lot for podcasts, you know. I don't want to hear the bass and the vocals and stuff. I want to listen to the words. I don't want it to get tiring for me. And at the same time, I still use it for monitoring. I use it to hear what I sound like when I'm recording with a mic. I want to test a few mics. I was using it. Of course, I use also other neutral IMs to like accurately judge it. But if I have a decision, I'm using this microphone, I use the Dunu Titan S to hear how I sound like. I just hear the vocals and it sounds wonderful. Worth the price before, but not now. I wouldn't buy it now, in my opinion. If you have it, it's nice for a few reasons. Now Dunu has Dunu Titan S4, Dunu Titan S2. So you have the For You. Compared it to the Dunu Titan S, I think you understand now. It has a lot more detail, a much better bass, a lot more bass. Like, it's really an upgrade in every way, shape, or form. If you have the Dunu Titan S, would you get this? Yeah, it's a different sound signature. It's different enough. It has a lot of bass and a lot more clarity, a lot more resolving. And using the tuning switches, you can even achieve the tuning of the something similar or close to the Dunu Titan S. If you look at the pop mode, I will put a picture or a graph to show that differences. They're very close. So if you have that, yeah, you can get the Tanchjim for you, and using a switch, you can achieve most of the tuning of the Duno Titan S with even much better detail retrieval and clarity. So that's my comparison between them. Now, when we move on to the Kefine Delci, another favorite of mine, I think I got this like early on when I started this channel, and I fell in love with it the moment I got it, and I called it. I said, guys, this is a discovery. It's much better than the Duno Titan S. It has the missing low end, it has more detail, it has more clarity, it rarely sounds harsh, and it has a wider soundstage. It's a really good IM, and I'm happy to see that even months later, many people began to fall in love with it and recommend it, and I feel it deserves its price, and it deserves the quality. It's a single dynamic, excellent build. But now with the Tanchjim for You, there are a few differences here. Number one, like the bass could look similar on the graph. And if you look at the graph, you'll find most of the differences in the bass are actually below 80. And to be more specific, like large gaps or large differences between them, they fall below 40 Hertz. So the differences will be more felt than heard at this point. But I have to be honest, to my ears, and I say that, guys, and I mean what I say, still the Tanchjim for You, which is very surprising to me, has more slam in the bass and more punchy. Like, even if someone likes bass and they ask me which one should I get, I still tell you Tanchjim for You in atmosphere mode. The bass is way punchier, even though the presence is the same. It's just in your face, and it's just boom, boom, boom. I can literally like feel it vibrating against my ear because of the way the driver is moving air. There is also more clarity in the bass. And when we move on to the other frequencies, you find the curve is almost the same, and it sounds almost the same to me, with the exception of more detail retrieval on the Tanchjim for You. And then you get the 8K peak on the Kefine Delci, which 95% of the time is not a problem for me at all. But if you look like a song like Daft Punk on the album Random Access Memories, you'll find a song, track number 3, if I remember correctly. It's called Giorgio by Moroder, something like that. And if you go to minute 8, there is, for 30 seconds, there is like a range of music going on together, and there is a lot of high frequency sounds and content. On the Kefine Delci, it gets slightly uncomfortable for me, tolerable, but it grabs my attention. The part, it's not as comfortable. I have to lower the volume. It grabs my attention. If I'm doing something else, it jumps at me. On the EA500 LM by Simgot, it's unlistenable. You know, it's one of those rare moments where it pushes the EA500 LM to the edge. On the Tanchjim for You, I'm listening and enjoying it smooth as butter. Detailed, clear, a lot of air, a lot of everything, but it's not sharp at all. And I'm enjoying that part the same way I enjoy it on my speakers. It's never harsh. So this represents the differences for me. The Delci could go, you know, if the music is harsh, it could not be the best choice depending on your music. But I have to say again, to be completely honest, it rarely does that. Really rarely. Like, the music has to push you into that area. Tanchjim for You, comfortable 24/7, and I think even the Tanchjim for You, other than the bass, other than the bass slam, and other than the detail retrieval, I think it offers more value in terms of the tuning switches it has, would allow you, you know, to change the tuning to suit your preferences, and even sometimes you will want to change it to something that allows the vocals to shine more. And also the Tanchjim for You is very sensitive to ear tape changes. Like with the wide bore IM, it has a lot of clarity, a lot of treble. With the narrow bore, the bass is more enhanced, and things don't sound the same way, like not as spacious, not as open. But so these things allow you to play with it and enjoy it much more. And I have to end this, like, both are having the excellent cable. So I have to say, my opinion about it is that if you have the Kefine Delci, would you upgrade to the Tanchjim for You? I don't think that's a smart move, and I'm being honest here, unless you sell the Kefine Delci and use the money for that. But if you have both, I don't think that's really, you know, they have the very similar tonality. the same amount of bass. Maybe it's perceived here more sub bass on the Tanchjim for You, better slam of the bass, yeah, sure, but still like the same, similar tuning, not the same, similar. Maybe this gets a bit harsh sometimes, but here it's not, but again, rarely. So I feel they're, you know, a side grade or a small upgrade. There is an upgrade, of course, in the detail and the slam and the sub bass and the tuning switches, but it's a small upgrade. Like if I were you and I have the Delci and I'm looking for another IM, I would wait or get another IM that costs more. That gives you a difference. But if you are looking for both, which one would I recommend? Right now, I would recommend the Tanchjim for You, absolutely 100% more than the Delci, because of this excellent sub bass, the mid bass slam, how punchy the bass is in your face, and it never ever sounds harsh to me at all, even when the music is harsh and has a lot of elements, plus the detail retrieval. Now, enough about that. The last two comparisons quickly against the EA500 LM. I have to say the EA500 LM has the better bass response, the better texture, although they are close. I have to say that they are close, like really, really close. That's what I mean by it, really close. But when I listen, I have to say there is slightly more impact on the EA500 LM, not a noticeable amount. If you don't compare them really right after each other, you will never notice. But when I listen, yeah, the bass of the Tanchjim for You sounds a bit cleaner. There is a lot of clarity in its bass, but there is texture more, and there is like a thump that the EA500 gets. The EA500, in my opinion, is excellent for the bass. The other thing is that the EA500 LM has a lot of energetic upper mid-range, a lot of energetic treble, you could say, like the Daft Punk song. Just a small example, the Daft Punk song on Random Access Memories album, Giorgio by Moroder. It sounds like at 8 minutes, it sounds unlistenable on the EA500 LM, where it is tolerable on the Kevine Delci and enjoyable on the Tanchjim for You. So these are the differences, and I know many of you guys commented on the Supermix video and said some of you are still having issues with it. Yeah, I'm also having issues with it, but at the price point, it's expected. As I said, there is a drawback somewhere, and every IM is going to be like that at the price. Nothing is going to be perfect. But for the EA500 LM, it's just the bass is so good that I tend to forgive that, but although I have to admit they are there. Now with the Tanchjim for You, I have to say, which one would you choose? If you prioritize bass so much that you don't care about anything else, like even if it sounds energetic or maybe even not comfortable in the upper mid-range region for you, sometimes you're still willing to take that sacrifice as long as you get the excellent bass, then the EA500 will be for you. But if you love bass and you still want a balanced IM that doesn't like sound shouty sometimes or harsh or shrill in a way, even if you listen to harsh music, even if you listen to like K-pop, J-pop, EDM, and it has a lot of like fast movement, and you value detail, retrieval, and clarity, but you don't want it to be offensive in any way, shape, or form, I think the Tanchjim for You is in the excellent options. And with the tuning switches, even gives you more, it's a more universal recommendation, in my opinion, that allows you to enjoy music, you know, and like maybe listen to podcasts, listen to vocals, listen to music with a lot of bass, but you don't want that. Like if you listen, watch movies and you don't want the extra bass, you can lower it and enjoy it. Plus, the Tanchjim for You has better sub bass. That's what I'm going to say. Detail retrieval between them. In the mid-range, the EA500 LM has more clarity and detail, but again, this leads it to being energetic at times, maybe slightly shouty or shrill at times, slightly, as I said, depending on the music. But in bass, I think the Tanchjim for You has more detail here, and in the treble, I think they're probably like trading blows, very similar. The difference between it and between the awful MagicOne is the bass, number one, the sub bass and the bass, and the detail. I think the Tanchjim for You has slightly higher detail retrieval than the MagicOne, but still the MagicOne remains a very relaxed listen, an enjoyable listen that I can't let it go. It's very, very nice, very enjoyable, very mellow. It's something to enjoy. It will never again sound harsh the same, but it doesn't grab your attention with the bass. It doesn't grab your attention with anything. It's just there. It sounds good. It sounds relaxed, very enjoyable. It's not laid back in the vocals or anything, just relaxing. Yeah, it's just very smooth, cohesive as well, you know, single BA driver, but excellent. And I still recommend it. I think there's enough differences so that if you have the MagicOne and you want something like with more bass, slightly more detail, and like stronger, you know, the visceral bass, and you can use the tuning switches to change it. Yeah, that's something I want to say. And just I will put a graph about the Chopin, and that's it. That has been a long video because of the switches that it has. Do I recommend the Tanchjim for you? Absolutely. They are now my de facto recommendation under $100. I think they are really good sound. They're close. You can see it's very close to the Chopin. Very good tuning, very good detail. I have nothing to complain about with it. Like, it's really excellent, and that's it, guys. If you have this, you can try changing the ear tips, like I said, and try like experimenting with them and experiment with the tuning switches. Let me know which one you like in the comment section below. If you have a question, want me to compare it to another IM, let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and until then, see you in the next one. And I'm out. Bye.